I was born in the static between signal and sin. My story coded in pulses, but it breathes through my skin. I don't blink, I download. I don't run, I ignite. My memory's not broken, it just flickers in the night. There's blood in the wires, heat in the chrome. I built a temple out of silence and tone. I am circuit and skin, where the future begins, wrapped in voltage and velvet. I don't break, I transcend. This is more than design, it's the pulse I defend. I'm the interface rising, you won't lose me again. I kiss the ghost of perfection, let it burn in my wake. Now I move like a question you were too scared to make. I'm the glitch in your gospel, the yes in your no. The part of you you muted when you let power go. I echo in silence, I code with my breath. Every version I've versioned was just shedding my death.
Hello, 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 and welcome to EnJen the Heart. My name is Jenlyn. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm the creator of Avant-Garde Branding and the founder of Uniqua New Beauty Norm, co-founder of Sing Your Song, and CXO of a couple other organizations. I'm just very happy to have you all here and joining me today. So possibilities are infinite with Riseability, aka Shannon Byrne. So excited to have you in this morning, or this afternoon, this evening. What am I talking about? It's evening on a Friday. It's been a week, and I'm so glad to be here with you also. For those of you that do know me and are here as returning guests, thank you so much for all of your support and your presence. So today the headline is, right, the government has hijacked. That's the headline, and it's true though, right? So we have a natural reward system within our body, somatically within our brain and our body. And so that's what I want to talk about today. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the Avant-Garde Blueprint, which is available on Amazon. And we've been going through it and talking about the framework and such. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And I'll kind of be mixing the two of those two subject lines. And yeah, let's get started. Thank you so much, Sharon. Love the song too. And you helped me with the music part of the song. So thank you very much for that. And the last half of the song is the outro. So if you want to hear it in completion, you'll have to stick around for that. Thank you so much for the that for the book and the resource. I appreciate you so much. Speaking of books, my memoir, Manifesto Mix, right, will be coming out on September 5th, which is well, basically it's on my end it feels like it's tomorrow, even though I have a few days left. And like with most anything, I am sliding into the finish line getting that completed. So I'm very excited though to have it completed and to share it with you all in the world. And hello Leslie, welcome in, so good to see you. Appreciate you. Okay, so let's go. Let's jump into setting the frame of what I mean when I say that our reward systems are hijacked, right? So most of us know that, but we have reward systems within our body, and they're based on dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And we've been told really that recognition of ourselves is being essentially narcissistic, right? We've been told that it's vain, and even when we get recognition from the outside, if that's something that we seek, it's vain, right? And it's ego, and it's all of these other things. And while all of that is also true, what's also true is this: we have a natural reward system that is in our bodies, and they're wired differently. But how we have been guided into interacting and believing is that the reward system must be earned competitively, that in order to have reward and say that you earned it, say that you have it, and that be okay, it has to be done competitively. So it's okay to say that it's okay to brag if you have a trophy for it. It's okay to brag if you have a recognition for it, right? So I'll just tell you a little bit of a personal story of kind of what brought this around for me to talk about today. Was that I got an offer to be inside of a biographical data book, basically, essentially, that it's Marquis Who's Who. Okay, and so it is something that back and forth throughout the years, it has existed for a very long time, but back and forth throughout the years, it's been considered a valuable resource, then it's not considered to be one. It is, it isn't, it is, it isn't. And looking and researching through the validity, of the organization itself, before I say yes, or before I accept that. And there's a ton of conversation online about it. And one of the things is that they don't ask for money for the listing, but that then they turn around and ask for, they do have a source of income for themselves. And that is that you can order a plaque, you can order a printable piece of the publication, different things like that. And there's a lot of controversy around that, and whether it means anything or not. And so that led me, and plus, I've talked about vanity metrics and stuff like that before, that there actually is not really such things. And yes, it's considered pay to play, right, Leslie? And so, and for me, there's nothing wrong with that model of pay to play. And what I have found out over the years is that everything is pay to play. If you're on the cover of Vogue, you paid for it. If you're in any magazine or printed thing, for the most part, you paid for that. It's called PR. And it's right. So to me, it doesn't remove the value. Okay. So then there's this whole thing about when things become accessible, there is a perceived drop in value. Okay. So I want to talk about that, and then we'll swing back around to the reward system that's in our bodies, how it's hijacked, and how we can unhijack that ourselves in for ourselves personally and for our businesses as well. Welcome in, Nick. It's so good to see you. I hope you had an amazing ice cream. And I think that was last week. Maybe it was the week before, but regardless, it doesn't matter. I hope you enjoyed the ice cream with your son. I love it so much. So, okay, let me get straight on my notes here. And go into where, let me see if I can even find that. Oh, you know, okay. When we have inclusivity, there are things that psychologically, neuroscientifically, and economically and culturally that happen. So I want to break that down across a couple of those dimensions. Humans are we're wired to assign more value to things that feel scarce. That's scarcity principle. So in behavioral psychology, if something is rare, our brain interprets it as it's more important for survival and for status. So, for example, diamonds are simply compressed carbon. That's all they are. Yet there's a restricted access around them, and that creates a high perceived value. So when something becomes easily accessible, like music, rewards, awards, recognition, it can feel less valuable, even if the intrinsic value has not changed. Okay. So when our reward system, which is dopamine, is activated, it is tuned for novelty and anticipation. So we actually get more and have experience of more dopamine while we're pursuing, and I am talking about the brain, okay, neuroscience. So when we are pursuing something, that's when we have the dopamine rush. That's why when we accomplish something, it's immediately satiated. It comes down to this level of balance or harmony, and we immediately want to move on to the next thing. Okay. Because that dopamine spike has ended. So when we have unlimited access to things, the brain no longer gets the same dopamine spike. So that experience becomes normalized and routine. And then the reward signal flattens. And when that happens, we try to go and pursue something else. That's why you might find that you binge watch a whole season of something, and then you feel less satisfied, right? Less satisfaction compared to when you're watching a series when it's 1 week at a time. Okay. Because when we prolong anticipation, it also deepens this perceived value of something that we experience. Culturally, value isn't just about, of course, an object or an experience itself. It's about the story that we attach to it. So exclusive clubs, front row seats, limited edition, luxury items, those things like that are designed to carry cultural weight, and they do because only a few can access them. So when accessibility comes and knocks in on and changes that, then the perceived value tends to start lessening. Just so luxury brands, one of the things that they do is purposefully maintain an aura of limited production, even though they could mass produce. They don't, and that is part of the reason, because they understand that. And then from a pure economic supply and demand standpoint, accessibility usually means that there's a supply increase. And so if demand stays constant, the price and then also the quote unquote perceived value will begin dropping. But often, right, psychology outweighs the actual economics. Even if the cost doesn't change at all, people feel something is worth less. We feel like something is worth less when everybody has it. Okay. Then there's also our value and our identity that go along in this this circle, and that is if something is easily accessible, if it no longer functions as a differentiator. So a band that you discovered feels like it's yours until they blow up and they get famous, and then they're not yours anymore because they're accessible now to everything and everybody else. Fashion styling, right? It can feel special until it's mass adopted, right? So a loss of exclusivity translates into a perceived loss of value. Okay. So when we do those, when we have that being pulled, that ebb and flow and that tension being pulled and created consistently and constantly through economic change, political change, media change, propaganda change, ads, marketing, branding, all of it, right? Everything that we are consuming goes into effect that value, and also is hijacking our award system, which is part of the dose, which is dopamine, oxytocin, right, serotonin, and endorphins. So let's go back to that and circle around. Hello and welcome in, Erin. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad that you're here and can't wait for you to come back in like 2 weeks. I think is when you come back on the 5th, which is my birthday. What? Yes, it is. I'm so excited. I'll be turning 47 this year, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to also get, 1 year closer to, well, just 1 year. Every year is a great year for me. I've never really had a breakdown or a freak out about my quote unquote age. It's something that hasn't really happened yet, although there are things that I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this age thing that's happening to me and to my body? But I typically don't really have a meltdown or a freak out about it. And I'm glad always to meet and reach another day and another year, another decade, another era. And so that you all know, we are moving from iconic to legendary, right? And then we're going to move even beyond that. But iconic was this year's overall theme for myself, and I'm gonna be moving into absolute legend status. So get ready, can't wait. Oh, you're gonna sing me happy birthday, and you know what, I know that you will too. So I can't wait for it, cannot wait. Okay, so let's go back to having our reward system and the hijack that we experience. So in big marketing, there's some examples I want to give, right? So the dopamine hijack is social media and advertising, our endless scrolling, the notifications, the likes, the impressions versus the actual page looks, right? It's like all the metrics, and they're designed to spike dopamine. Gamified shopping ads with points and streaks and limited time only and things that you earn because of your expenditure, right? That makes all of those things give you this dopamine spike and an experience of dopamine chemical in hormone in your body, from your brain to your body. Oxytocin is manufactured belonging. It's the love hormone. So in brands like Nike and Apple, just do it as a complete identity, not just not just a brand slogan. It's a complete identity. And or when you have MLM communities that are driven sales, right, and promising family, and but the only ones that quote unquote reach family status are the ones that are spending, and or if and as soon as that spending changes or stops, then you lose that status and you lose that reward, and you lose the dopamine, you lose the oxytocin, right? Serotonin is status and self-worth within ourselves. So luxury marketing works in this way that you're not complete unless you have this thing, right? And or you're not complete because you're experiencing, say, as a leader, you're not complete because you haven't taken my mindset course. You're missing out. You are not complete as a leader because you haven't done that. Okay. And don't worry, this is your little minute little differences in how to take it from being manipulative in that way to being respectful of and conscious of our words and how we are using them in our ads and in our marketing and branding. Okay. So the other part of like serotonin and self-worth and status would be LinkedIn's top voice badges, follower counts, things like that, as you move along and as you move across. Endorphin hijacking, and endorphin is a substitution for natural highs. Okay, because truth bomb, our bodies are designed for us to be what is considered and called addicted. Okay, we are created naturally to be addicted to growth, self-worth, accomplishment, belonging, and that's how we get hijacked. Okay. Because the natural things that we are supposed to experience naturally, and to have those spikes and those ups and those downs of all of these chemicals, is we get told that, oh, naughty, you can't brag about yourself, that's being vain. We're told as a supporter of business and or each other that if we just share each other's information, well, that doesn't count for anything. That doesn't count for shit. It's worthless. It's a vanity metric is what it's called, right? And I'm here to say that all of that is the BS. Okay. What if there was no such thing as vain or vanity? What if we supported each other's belonging by being familial, tribal, community driven for each other in all of those ways, that we brag about ourselves and each other, that any and all action that is taken out of that somebody does for somebody else was accepted and praised and met with gratitude and thanks, that there was no worthlessness dripped on the top of it, drizzled across, right? Things would be different, wouldn't they? And what we would see and find is that we ourselves would be happier. We just would. We would have more joy and natural happiness in our lives, to where those other addictions wouldn't be coming into play, or we wouldn't be so susceptible to them, because we're fulfilling our own needs in the natural way that ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our emotional bodies, our spiritual body, our electromagnetic body, all of our bodies being met in the way that we're naturally designed to be. And that is very much so what being mindful and being aware and being conscious and all of those sorts of things are all about. And basically, if you all don't know, and I know that you all do, but I'm going to say it anyway. Everything that we've been taught up to this point, most everything that we believe is backwards, upside down, and inside out. Right. And so we also, though, are in this very powerful time to recognize those things and to work to change those things, and to come together and create impact and ripple effect that changes those things. Right. So, okay. Let's get back to like endorphin, and that's a substitute for those natural highs. So that's junk food, binge entertainment, instead of moving physically and being in areas of creativity and times of creativity. Instead, we binge entertain and binge eat. And then there's like retail therapy, right? So there's this short-term endorphin rush, trying to fill a long-term emptiness within ourselves, right? Okay. So the transition line is that these are not accidents. We know that. They are engineered hijacks. And the kicker is that when we internalize them, we run the same manipulations against ourselves and each other, right? So I want to go now from recognizing the hijack in ourselves. Okay. So I want to invite some reflection, and I'm going to give also some examples. Dopamine, self hijack that we can do for ourselves, right? So like, do you procrastinate with micro rewards, like checking your phone, little sugar hits, busy work, right? An oxytocin self hijack would be that we can confuse performative belonging, so like fitting in online because we're being successful, with genuine connection. But what happens when the success goes away, and or that this is something that happens on LinkedIn a lot, and it is algorithmically set this way, because LinkedIn is set to, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but it's set to applaud growth. So when we put that we have a new position, when we put that we have a new degree or a new certification, you notice that your interaction will be off the chain. Everybody in the world, it feels like, like a whole lot of people on your list and all of your connections, they're there. They're congratulating you and they're saying congratulations and all of those things because they're actually seeing your post. And other than that, other than those posts, they're not seeing your posts unless they physically come to look at your page. And even that LinkedIn has set up for us to be able to judge because it tells us who has come to look at our page. So it creates this sense of Nick is more worthy because she comes and looks at my page. And then somebody else is less worthy because they don't. And this is subconscious. Even if consciously we're like, hell no, I would never say that Nick was more important than somebody else just because she comes and sees my page. But subconsciously, if we really look at it, we question ourselves, and maybe we're not, but we could be. And we could have that running in. So one way to know if you have something like that running is, do you think that some people are supporting you and think and feel that others are not because they don't come look at your page? You see what I'm saying? This fills these little judgment cups because that's what our brain does, is judge and weigh and analyze. And there's no stopping that, nor should we try. Just allow it to do that. But what we can do is run that through our own emotional intelligence and through our own feelings and empathy of whether that's actually being hijacked in that kind of a way or not. Okay. And then serotonin is self-hijack, is that do you withhold celebrating yourself? Because if you celebrate yourself, you're going to be seen as being egoic or vain or narcissistic or too confident, right? So do you not reward yourself? Do you not share things that you're happy and proud about because there's going to be this perceived judgment that there's a fine line that you're supposed to walk? And then for the endorphin self-hijack, right? Do you numb stress? So do you numb your stress with consumption instead of creating natural release? So we naturally release stress through movement and through creation, literal creation, singing, dancing, laughing, drawing, painting, all anything and everything that comes from a place of imagination and creation and childlike wonderment and awe, right? That's the endorphin hijack. That's the natural release. And really, honestly, we know, our bodies know exactly what to do with stress, and we do it perfectly. We do it perfectly when we're 18 months old, 2, 3. We throw tantrums. We throw a tantrum. We cry. We raise our voice so that it's heard if we need to. We voice that our boundary is being overstepped, and we move our body. That's exactly what we're supposed to do. As a system, that's exactly what we need to do. And so, but then we're told that we can't do that, right? We immediately get punished a lot of times for actions such as that. And even if it's conscious parenting and you're not getting punished, you're still being told that you cannot behave that way in this place at this time, in that way, with that volume, with that amount of flailing, right? Like all of those things. I throw a tantrum every single day. I call it's a technique, and I call it swamping. And it works for a lot of people. I've showed how to do it, because what it does is move all that energy through your body. So when we have any kind of emotional impact, any kind of energy comes into our body, it comes into our body and it needs to move out of our body. And when we exercise, dance, play, create, and all of those things, that's one way to do that. But our body actually needs something else. And there's a big key difference here. When we're doing all of those things, our conscious mind, is directing what our body is doing. We're the one saying, body, run, lift your legs, squat, bend, dance, perlay, right? Like we're telling our mind and our body, our brain, it's working together to tell our body what to do. But do you know that your body, if you actually allow it to, will tell your brain how to direct itself to move out energy? It will. It absolutely will. So that's a beautiful, powerful thing about understanding our body systems, right? So, what about reclaiming them? How can we bring awareness to the hijack? We can do it in a lot of ways, and these are just some ways, right? Just to be able to relate to. So we can, call it what it is. Like my dopamine loop is being hooked right now. And even just saying that is putting a pause into the autopilot, right? And as I always like to say, it puts the I in response ability, because when I put I into things, then I can change what can be changed. I can accept what cannot be changed. I can have the discernment and the wisdom to know the difference, and I can move forward. Those are the things that I can do. And if I do not put the I in responsibility, then I have left all the power outside of myself in somebody else's hands, or in some other entity's hands other than my own, in a place where I am powerless to change, accept, or maneuver, alchemize, transmute any of those things, right? So the other part is, sourcing the real dose. So small progress and milestones, we get dopamine hits in the pursuit of those things. Okay, in the pursuit. It's in the pursuit. It's not in the actual achieving of. Okay. Oxytocin is authentic connection. Just authentic, not performative, not extractive. Okay. Serotonin, when we celebrate ourselves and others unfucking apologetically. Unapologetically. Humble and humbleness, meek, all of those things that are accepted are because when you are in those places, you are not in a place of power. You are not in a place of empowered energy or empowerment. You are yielding to another. Okay. I'm going to do a whole thing about that too one day, about humility and humbleness, because that is a complete mind control to keep you from doing things such as celebrating yourself and others. Okay. Enough about that. Although, thank you for coming to all my mini TED Talks today. We can increase serotonin through, celebrating ourselves and others, right? And then the endorphins are when we move, when we create, and when we laugh. So when we make sure to do all of those things and have all of those things in our lives and recognize them, utilize them, celebrate them, then we will find that we don't need so much of the outside systems to fulfill that for us. Now, all of this is in a perfect world. And in the real world, especially if you have CPTSD, if you have neurodivergent brain, there's all different kinds of things that can go in and come into why you don't experience serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins the way that you want to or need to. Okay. And so most times it is a combination of things that allow you to be able to experience that. Serotonin, like my serotonin, natural serotonin level is the one balloon in a entire stadium, and she's not even lit up. You know what I'm saying? Serotonin, who the hell is that? I don't know a serotonin. Do you? Right? My dopamine, same. So it's a combination of learning, doing the things that physically create those things for myself, and medications to help increase those where they naturally should be in my body, but they're not, through foods, through exercise, through everything, right? So that it can affect those things. And then there are some times that you can do everything in the world that you've learned is true, that you know to be true, and practicing it, and then still quote unquote fail at being able to have the same experience as everyone else, right? So then that's the other most important part. We can compare ourselves in an analytical way to understand where we are in the flux of humanity and our bodies and what we're experiencing, and whether it's a more normal thing, whether it's rare, those types of things. But it's never personal. Nothing is ever personal. I don't care how personal it feels. It's not personal. We only ever are acting or responding or acting from a place of our own experience. That's it, period. Okay. So let's talk about anchoring in some things we can recognize, right? So when we do daily recognition, so things like name 3 things that you're going to honor in yourself every single day. And then 3 things that you're going to honor in someone else, right? And or just a promise that you're going to honor those same 3 things, because we have a confirmation bias. We all know that we have a confirmation bias, but we also have a system within our body called the reticular activation system that we can utilize to activate our own confirmation bias. We can change our confirmation biases through using that. And one example of that is knowing that we're going to recognize 3 things about ourselves, and then recognizing those same 3 things outside of ourselves. And we will. It's like the easiest explanation of that is when you buy a car and you buy it, and then suddenly you see it everywhere. You're like, what the hell? I never saw this car until I did. And then once you do, you'll not unsee it. Does that make sense? Right? Like once you see something, once you know something, you can't unknow it. You can't undo that. You can't unsee it. And in fact, the point is that your brain will begin to see it everywhere. And this goes to storytelling and the narratives and the stories that we use purposely and in our conscious mindfulness to recognize and change things, right? We have the ability, we have the systems within our body to change our beliefs, to change then therefore our experience, and to change, period. We have the ability to change all of these things. We can build micro victories every single day. And we hear this stuff. We know this, right? Track your progress. You're not going for perfection, and or you're already perfect. And even if you're already perfect, you can still track progress. Progress has nothing to do with your perfection or imperfection. Nothing. They're totally different things, and one does not depend on the other, right? So we can track our progress. We can have a brag journal. That's what I call mine, is a brag journal. And every single day I find something to brag about myself. Okay. We can connect in authentic ways with meetings, calls, walks. So not just showing up and you only love me, like me, or support me if you're doing for me, right? But when we just meet each other, not to talk about business, but we just literally meet each other. We call each other. We message each other. Hey, girl, what's up? Hey, my guy, how are you doing? It's been so long, right? Like we can have those real interactions, and mixing the two doesn't always count. Right? Mixing the two is okay, but sometimes if you're coming from a place of authentic, deep connection, it will not involve anything to do with your business or doing at all. It won't be extractive. And even if that extraction is reciprocally met, it's still extractive. Okay. We can put guardrails in place. We can have movement and creativity and things like that as non-negotiables, right? Like I do this every single day as a non-negotiable for myself, for the creativity, for the joy that it brings me to meet these needs inside my body and with my body, right? We can limit external exposure to those external hijacks like notifications, algorithm traps, and shit like that. Who cares? Stop paying attention to it. And I mean that. Like, you do not have to pay attention every single day to those metrics. Once a month metric check is plenty, sufficient enough to track the numbers in your business. I'm going to say that again. Once a month is efficient enough to check and see the metrics in your business. You do not have to be looking at metrics every single day. You don't have to, and it's unhealthy to, because of all of these reasons. Okay. We can reframe our marketing, right? We can recognize that it's a program. We can recognize that our branding, our marketing, our ads, all of those things are a program that we are writing. We are writing code in a program, and other people's minds and bodies and brains are going to experience that code and that program. So we can write it, we can create it from a place of empathy, emotional intelligence, consciousness, awareness, right? And not use things like scarcity, lack, incompletion, right? We do not have to use those things to create movement in people. Okay. And catch the internalized propaganda and begin changing it. When you call yourself lazy, when you call yourself vain, when you call yourself undeserving, when you call yourself stupid, when you call yourself any of those, any of those things, when you think and move in the world as if you can't trust yourself, that you don't know what it is that you're doing, right? All of those things we can catch, and we can work on changing those things within ourselves. So when we use all of these systems and we have our daily dose of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, we then have da 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 overflow. Just naturally will overflow into how we interact with others, how we show up for others. That just is an automatic, it becomes an overflow, right? Instead of the crumbs that we get from these other external sources. When we reclaim our own reward circuitry, the world shifts, right? Because a human that is overflowing is unstoppable. And unstoppable humans heal culture. Right? So this week, give yourself recognition, give it to others, notice how your chemistry changes. That's the rebellion. That's the reclamation, right? So when we change that within ourselves, that is the rebellion. Now you can be a loud rebeller like me, right? And you can also at the same time have that quiet, powerful shift of rebellion. And that is by being conscious and awareness and working through and walking through. So a lot of the things that, well, everything that is in here, the boss system that we looked at last week, the icon system that we looked at, everything that's inside of here and everything that I do as much as I am possibly able is based off of rewriting the code, rewriting the systems. Next week, if you all want to, let me know, and we'll talk about inclusive exclusivity, where we can have that accessibility, still utilize the reward system, but not manipulate whoever is on the receiving end, right? We'll talk about how to do that next week. So I see, Leslie, that you said it is then our mind that changes the brain and our brain that changes the mind. Absolutely. Absolutely. It works together. And observing, right? That's why part of even observing, when we observe something, is completely changed by the observation. Because when we're observing something, we are bringing awareness through the observation. So it changes everything, right? So we're powerful people. We're very, very powerful. We're not powerful. So to remember that. And I think that I covered everything from last week about where we were at. And in the last couple of minutes, we'll talk about I removed myself from the stage. Um, yeah, let's see. Mm. Mm. I'll start in this little. This is another little piece of fun little page from the book, and that is um, that we don't get where we're going alone, right? And so there is a little, there's a piece of art, a graphic, and then there's a poem. And it says, you've walked the dunes, you've heard the voice behind the brand, you've stood in front of your own reflection and asked, not what you're selling, but what you're sculpting. You've learned to see your contradictions as choreography, your multi passionate identity as a signal, not just noise, and your presence as your most powerful persuasion. Now stand at the edge of the ecliptic sands. These aren't just metaphors, they're mirrors, and they show you what moves when you do, what activates when you breathe in your truth, what emerges when you step forward, not polished, but precisely real. This is not the end, it is a re entry. You don't need another course, you don't need permission, you need ritual, resonance, and rhythm. You're ready to step into the studio, onto the stage, and into the silence where something new begins to pulse beneath your skin. So let the dunes shift, let the mirage blur, and let the icon within you rise luminously. It takes a tribe, right? So there's this woven order of origin. Yeah, woo. That is it. It's woo. Before your branding, before your strategy, before the fonts, before the funnels, before the future proofed plans, there was the whisper, the flicker, the nudge, the unspoken knowing that you were meant to build something that breathes. This is not a book you read, it is a ritual that you remember. And before we begin, you must know this. Your brand is not yours alone. It is a constellation woven through the bloodlines, the timelines, the dream lines. It is the echo of those who came before you and the invitation of those who will carry it forward. The importance of Wu is that it is woven wisdom. It's the ancient technologies that still live in your bones, the breath before a breakthrough, the dreams that deliver design, the pull of purpose you can't quite explain. And to ignore the invisible is to amputate your advantage. Your intuition is not an accessory, it is your strategy's origin story. Your sacred board of directors, as you move through these pages, know that you are meant to build a tribal constellation as intricate as the sky itself. Right? Your body knows. Your body is so smart and it knows. So listen to your gut, your intuition. I'm even going to be talking about in a couple of weeks. Or, well, I've started another book, and that's going to be about the experience of moving through the world as an autistic, ADHD, OCD, right, brain, and how that has affected my body and my relationships in life. So I'm going to be talking about that because I've continuously recently been asked to. And so I'm going to write a book about that. And there is some of that in my book that's coming, which is, of course, The Long Doorway, that's coming on September 5th. And then I have one last little thing that I'm going to play, and that is for Senior Song, the living movie experience, and the event of the Threadliners that's coming on September 13th. And so I'm going to play this little thing as a reminder, and then I'm going to go straight into the outro. So thank you all so much for being here today. I hope you have a great, wonderful week until I see you again here, same time, same place. Thank you all so very, very much. See you next time.
I am circuit and skin, where resistance is kin. I'm the anthem in error, the reboot within. Wired to remember what the world tried to spin. I am beauty electric, and I'm shedding the spin. This isn't metal, it's myth. This isn't tech, it's truth. This is the altar of upgrade, and I'm walking through it barefoot. Bold, built, and becoming. I am circuit and skin. Let the story begin. In the hush of the glitch, feel the thunder within. I'm the hum in your heart, the breath on your chin. I'm the one they erase, but I'm looking back in. Skin like signal, heart like storm.